Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to call to order this City Commission meeting for the City of Lynn Haven for Tuesday, May 23rd, 2017, and like to also welcome all of you with a warm welcome for being here this evening to share in the business of the city and to let your voices be heard and to be a part of the city business to be done. In lieu of the invocation tonight, I wanted to read a poem. This coming weekend is the Memorial Day weekend, and I wanted to read this in honor of all of our veterans, those who are active duty serving, our first responders here in Lynn Haven, and thank you so much for all that you do. And also, my husband is a Vietnam combat veteran, so I wanted to honor him as well. This poem was written by Lieutenant Colonel John McRae on May 2nd, 1915. And many people notice during Memorial Day and all through the year, the American Legions and the VFWs and different organizations will sell poppies or give poppies. They ask for donations for veterans issues. And sometimes you wonder where the tradition of the poppies come from, and this poem is the beginning. Lieutenant Colonel John McRae saw his dear friend killed instantly by a German mortar shell, and they were unable to have any kind of ceremony that evening because of the danger of the enemy seeing it going on and inflicting further damage. And so he was buried in the dark. And the next morning, as John McRae was watching across the field where the grave was situated and hidden, he noticed poppies blowing across the field, and he penned this poem in about 3 minutes' time, and it probably became one of the most famous memorials. In Flanders fields the poppies blow, between the crosses row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky the larks still bravely singing fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, we felt dawn, we saw the sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe, to you from failing hands we throw the torch. Be it yours to hold it high. If you break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields. And if you are a veteran or active duty or a first responder, would you please stand and let us honor you with a round of applause? Now would you please stand and join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before I begin the mayor's report, I need a motion to place the reading of ordinance number 1035 on tonight's agenda in a second, please.
Move approval.
There's been a motion and a second. Any discussion from the board?
Yes, ma'am, if I could just make a comment.
Sure.
Thank you, Mayor. I was just reminded today when Rob sent us some information that he had sent us previously, but I just wanted to read this section of the opinion from the Attorney General as it relates to the golf carts, considering we have some time. The operation of golf carts upon the public roads and streets of this state are prohibited except where is, and then it says, number one, the golf carts may be operated only upon the county and roads been designated by the county or the city streets that have been designated by a city for the use of golf carts. Prior to making such designation, the responsible local government entity must first determine that golf carts may safely travel on or across the public roads or streets. Considering factors include the speed, volume, and character of motor vehicle traffic using the road or street. Upon the determination that golf carts may be safely operated on the designated roads or streets, the responsible government entity shall post appropriate signs and indicate such operations. I just wanted to mention that only because I still have reservations about some of the roads that I mentioned last night, and I would just encourage the other commissioners and/or if there's any other way that we can make a clear determination that those roads are safe for travel of golf carts. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Friend. My understanding from the city attorney, this is simply a first reading, which may be added to, subtracted from,
Yes,
and he has placed an appendix D that at the first reading or the second reading, if the commission so desires, they can add those types of things to it or subtract them. Is that
Yes, ma'am.
suitable?
Yes, ma'am. And that's why I just wanted to mention it tonight as we put it on the agenda for the first reading, because I think it allows us a minimum of 2 weeks to maybe on our own. That's some of what I did, and when going out and talking to people that actually live on those roads, I just have reservations, and I don't know what else we can do. I know I talked to the police chief on some of the citations that we've given on some of the roads of concern. I don't know what else we could do. Do we want a traffic study to decide how much traffic are on some of those roads? But I do appreciate the opportunity to mention it tonight, because I think it gives us an opportunity to maybe do a little more due diligence before the second reading and passing of the ordinance.
Sure, and I was actually going to clarify that before you spoke, but thank you for bringing it up.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes. Any other comments from the board? Okay. City Manager Schubert, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
No.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Russell? Yes. Mayor Anderson?
Yes. And so we'll just place the first reading on the agenda. I will make it item number 23, with public commentary now becoming 24 and the adjournment becoming 25. Okay. So the reading of the ordinance would be item number 23. Public commentary will now become item number 24 and the adjournment item number 25. Thank you. Okay, at this time, we will move to item number 3, which is the mayor's report. I just had a couple of things. I did have the opportunity to meet with our police chief, Matt Reamer, and we had a great meeting. We just talked about some of the changes and progress being made at the police department, and I just wanted to share with him some of the compliments that I've been receiving from the community about the involvement of the police department and all the wonderful things they're doing, and we're just so proud of everything that you're doing. I also discussed with him sort of what you were just talking about. There are several streets in Lynn Haven that I continually receive cries for help, really, from mostly parents of small children and people who are just tired of the people speeding in their 25-mile-an-hour zones. And so by Florida statute, this commission has the power to place a stop sign any place within the city limits that we would like to place one. And there have been many traffic studies. I know on my street, Tennessee Avenue, they studied it several times. They counted the traffic and all that. And we added just one stop sign to try to stop some of the cut through from Highway 77. And it was very successful. It's a lot better. And I think maybe one more stop sign would even make it better. And I've had requests for stop signs on 5th Street. I've had requests for them on Colorado, on Wyoming, on 17th. There's a cut through where people come off 390 and go down Georgia Avenue. And I've had a request for a 4-way stop there. So I'm hoping, I'm not going to ask for that tonight, but as we're looking at, the two things can go together, whether this commission decides to pass the golf cart resolution or not, I would hope that we could talk about it in the meeting and consider the possibility of approving some placement of stop signs. Our city manager has also made some great ideas about, as we go forward with our paving project over the next 2 years, that on some of the streets we might consider some turnarounds that would slow the traffic down, and those would be very attractive as well, putting some trees in the middle of the streets and slowing the traffic down even more. So I think there's a lot of things that we can do to mitigate some of the issues that we're having with people cutting through neighborhoods to avoid the traffic on Highway 77. So anyway, that was a very successful meeting, and I appreciate that. I had the opportunity to speak with the St. Andrews Bay Women's Club about Lynn Haven. They called and said they've been hearing about wonderful things, and they wanted to hear some of the ideas from our city, and we had a great meeting. I also wanted to congratulate Leisure Services Department. I believe Maria Stout-Tate is here, and maybe some others, on the great job they did with the block party on May 13th. There have been nothing but compliments. People had a wonderful time, and we just really appreciate all the work that went into that. Also, just a reminder, the second weekend in June that we have the second annual Hermit Crab Festival coming up at Porter Park. It's going to be a great event. It's very family friendly. We're going to have the sand sculpture going on, many children's activities. The Shriners are coming with their paper sailboat regatta will be going on, and they're also going to sponsor a kids fishing tournament on Bailey Bridge. So we have a lot of great things, ending up even with a movie that night in the park. So think about bringing your children. It's June 17th, all day Saturday, and culminating with that movie. So we're going to have a great time with that. I also spoke with Florida Highway Patrol. I've been trying to talk with him, and I finally got a hold of him this afternoon. And we spoke for about 20, 25 minutes on the various golf cart statutes and how those work. And he did concur with everything that our city attorney had been telling us about the statute and how that municipalities, even though some have added on or infringed upon the Florida statute, that the Florida statute stands the way it does. So that kind of confirmed, our attorney had advised us of that, but the Highway Patrol also confirmed that with me. And then finally, I have an appointment on June 21st, and I've invited the city manager to go with me, and he has accepted. And we're going to go and speak with the Secretary Philip Gaynor for District 3 for Florida Department of Transportation and talk with him about some of the issues in Lynn Haven. There are many different versions of the story about the widening of 390 and the progress on that, and we just want to go and talk about that. Another issue that is of huge concern to me and many of the residents on the west area of Lynn Haven is the intersection by Ace Hardware, Sam's Seafood as you come off the bridge, Po Folks Restaurant, the entrance to Porter Park, the congestion there, and the posted speed limit is 35 miles per hour. And if you've been at that intersection, you know that that's not happening. And many of us go to 9th Street to try and cross, to get where we're going safely. And so I want to talk with him about the possibility of a study to see about a traffic signal either at the base of that bridge or maybe at 5th Street there where you can't get out without taking your life in your own hands. So those are some of the issues that I want to talk with him about, as well as if the golf cart resolution passes, I want to speak with him about starting the approval process for a crossing for Highway 77. So that is the activities that I've been involved in. I've asked City Manager Mr. Schubert if he would ask one of you on the commission if you would be willing to substitute for me on May 31st at the city's Memorial Day celebration over at our park. I will be out of town for about the next 2 weeks, probably. I've shared with many of you, my husband is undergoing a quadruple bypass on Friday in Atlanta, so I'll be traveling with him, but I will be checking my email, and I would appreciate your continued prayers and thoughts. So thank you so much. Start down with brand new Commissioner Dan Russell. Do you have a report this afternoon?
The only report I've got is thanking the citizens of Lynn Haven for having the confidence in me to elect me. And I wanted to let you know about a couple of employees that I've run into that I think are extraordinary. Robert Brandon works for Maria, and at the block party, he showed up off duty to make sure everything was working right, and I applaud him for taking his own time to do that. And the other employee is actually a retired employee. Twyla Miller is on her own time training her replacement. So I just want you to know the citizens of Lynn Haven really have good employees that work for us. That's all.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes, I have a list.
Awesome.
I feel it's very important to keep the citizens aware of what commissioners do, not just come to a couple of meetings a month. On May 1st, I was sworn in on the 25th. On May 1st, our city manager, Joel, took me on a tour. And we spent pretty much all afternoon. We went to Public Works and Fire Department, Police Department, Leisure Services. And I have to tell you, I was so impressed by everything that I saw. I would eat off the floors in our fire department, and I told him that. It's the cleanest place I have ever been in. I was just amazed. Our fire department, or our police department, shared some things with me that I was interested in also and kind of surprised. 500 calls per month we get in Lynn Haven. Leisure Services, one of the things I learned there, I got very excited when Maria showed it to me. There's a room there that you can rent. Private citizens can rent for showers and wedding receptions and things of that nature. I wasn't aware of that. Anyway, so on May 11th, I attended the Wings Across the Bridge ceremony. Southport and Lynn Haven elementary schools are both, their mascots are both eagles. And once a year, Southport comes over to Lynn Haven. They walk across the bridge to raise funds for the Eagle Foundation in Tennessee. And I think this year they raised, what would they say, about, I think it was almost $2,000. So they were very happy with that. On the 13th, I had a chance to get some snapshots with some of our police officers at the block party, because I was there, of course. And the block party really was nice, too. I have to say that, too. On the 15th, I toured the city library. And city library has 4 employees, and I believe one of them is part-time. And they have over 27,000 books, videos, DVDs that the citizens of Lynn Haven can rent at no charge. And it's only $10 for a library card if you live out of the city limits. So that was a couple things. And for $25, they have a room there you can rent also for like training sessions and things like that. No food, no drink, but it's a great room. And I don't think most of our citizens know that's available either. Let me see. On the 18th, this was the most recent, I toured the water and the sewer departments, and that was challenging. But I got to tell you, we pump over 1 million gallons of water a day. And the employees up there, I was very surprised too. You can just look at a computer screen, and they watch all the pumps, and they can tell you what's coming in, what's going out, all of that. They're called in whenever there's severe thunderstorms, hurricanes. They have to man those things to make sure that all the water levels are correct. And the sewage plant, which I have lived near, and years ago, I will say years ago, didn't like to get too close down there on 5th Street at the end, but I did not smell a thing. Now, I don't really think they even knew I was coming there, so I don't know what they could have done. He said now that they treat the water with chemicals to keep that odor down, and I won't go into all the details of that, but it was very, very interesting also. Some of the things that have been brought to my attention since I've been elected, and these may be things that you folks have incurred too, and I'm not going to get into names or anything like that. I had a lady come to me, and she wanted lights put in our cemetery. And I said, well, because she's getting things stolen, important things off her daughter's, headstone and things like that. And so she says, I want lights. That way nobody will go in. Well, we lock those gates at dusk. And Mr. Schubert here and I, we've discussed that, and our police department is doing that. So I don't think that when I see her again, when I talk to her again about it, I'm just going to have to explain that. Either people are stealing things there during the day, but we're not, obviously it's not feasible to put lights in the cemetery. Beginning next month, our water bills will have the times and dates of our commission meetings on them, because that's one source that everybody gets. And one of our citizens had asked for that months ago, so I'm glad that that's taking place. There was a sign on 17th Street when the ditch work was done, and the sign for subdivision was taken down. They have not got it back. However, Mr. Forehand reported to me today that they even described the vehicle and the man who actually picked it up. So I haven't got back to her because he just got that to me this afternoon, but that's been taken care of. I found a resident came to me. His driveway went over the sidewalk. He was getting many complaints about it. I met with Mr. Schubert. We looked it up on Google Earth, and what it was his garage had been filled in. So there was no garage there, so his driveway went right over the sidewalk. Anyway, we came up with a nice solution for that, and a city employee met with him as far as moving his driveway so that he's not going over the sidewalk. I had a resident that lives near the Bailey Bridge where the storm water runoff comes right there by the sign, and that's, I don't know what bayou that is. Do you? Right there by the sign?
No, just southwest side of the bridge.
Well, anyway, it's mostly mud and dirt and sand, and it's filling in. And when I spoke with Bobby, he explained to me that city manager is looking into this with DOT because the runoff is actually coming from Highway 77. So that's another solution for them. Our I received a call from a resident that had a roll-off dumpster, one of those great big things parked in somebody's driveway. It had been there for months and months and months. That was taken care of in 2 days. Mr. Schubert again made that happen, and that disappeared. So that was a positive outcome. I believe in transparent government, so I have no problem telling anybody what I've discussed and with who. It doesn't mean I'm going to get my way. It doesn't mean anything other than I just want to be clear with everybody on the things that I'm thinking about. Mr. Schubert and I have talked about a city employee Christmas party with the family. The kind you used to have years ago where the kids got to come. There was Santa. There was all of those things. We have 158 employees, and I just think it's something that I'd like to see entertained. We've also discussed, when it comes to paving the roads, the big project that's coming up, we talked about this briefly, about not having to use an engineer where there is no infrastructure. You know, if we're just laying pavement, let's save some money and not use that resource if we don't have to. One of the other things we've discussed is how many city vehicles are driven home each night. And I just brought this up, and we talked about it just for the sake of possibly saving money, but it's just we talked about it. It's not anything that's, you know. The other thing that we've talked about that's very near and dear to me is not accepting gifts. I don't believe the city commission should accept gifts. I don't believe that our city employees should accept gifts. I think there should be a dollar limit, $10, whatever. I think when we go to lunch with other people, we should buy our own lunch. You know, ball tickets or whatever. I don't care what it is. I think it's something that should not take place. And I think we should come up with some kind of system to report those kind of things, to keep everybody out in front. And again, being very transparent. And my last item is I talked to Mr. Schubert a couple weeks ago about installing cameras over our gas pumps. We have over 40 vehicles, city vehicles. And I went to him because I used to work in a situation where there were lots of vehicles and mechanics on call and right there. And so Mr. Baker says that within 2 weeks, the cameras will be installed. He did have to buy another hard drive so we can archive those videos and the program. So I'm really excited about that. That's basically it. That's what I've been doing for 2 weeks.
That was a very full report, and I was thinking what a breath of fresh air, but you know what? You're sort of a tornado, I think. Congratulations on your first 2 weeks. Commissioner Barnes, do you have a report?
Yes, as you guys know, this is the time of year where graduation is taking place, and so we've got 3 schools right here in Lynn Haven that will be having graduation ceremonies. North Bay Haven, Mosley High School, and Haney Technical Center. So congratulations to those graduates, and I plan to be at a couple of those. That's it.
Thank you. Commissioner Friend?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, attended the Triumph Gulf Coast Board meeting yesterday. For those of you who don't know, I'm not going to go into great detail with it, but it has to do with the BP funding and going through the legislation. The latest legislation that was passed is really in the favor of the Panhandle. So the governor has it. Hopefully he'll sign it. And if he does, we need to start paying attention to that a little more as a commission to see if there's any opportunities for the city of Lynn Haven. The other thing is, today I attended the TPO subcommittee for advertising on the public transit vehicles, better referred to as the trolley, I guess. So we've started that process again. And so if anybody has any question, comments, or concern, please feel free to reach out to me, as I do sit on that committee, and we'll go back with our recommendations for the TPO's full approval of what we're going to advertise on there, how we're going to go through. We're about to send out RFPs for that so that marketing agents will come in and give us proposals as to what it's just additional revenue for the trolley, which we desperately need. And lastly, I'll just say that Thursday is one of my favorite days. We have Lynn Haven Elementary coming over, and they visit City Hall. in the mayor's office, and we have a really good time. Then we come over here and we do a mock commission meeting. And the mayor and I did it last year together. I think we made a really good team. We had a great time. I'm going to miss her. I think she's going to be out this time, but I miss having her. But I'll obviously extend an invitation to all the commissioners if you'd like to come. It's one of my favorite things to do. We have a great time, and I have a feeling that we will be discussing golf carts probably for the mock meeting. Just saying. That's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. At this time, I would like to read the proclamation for National Safe Boating Week, and I believe we have some representatives here who will be receiving that. Would you like to read the proclamation? I can take it down and present it. Would that work?
Sure.
Better? Okay. Thank you. If you'd like to come up.
Whereas, on average, 650 people die each year in boating-related accidents in the U.S., approximately 3/4 of these are fatalities caused by drowning, and whereas the vast majority of these accidents are caused by human error or poor judgment and not by the boat, equipment, or environmental factors, and whereas a significant number of boaters who lose their lives by drowning each year would be alive today had they worn their life jackets, and whereas today's life jackets are more comfortable, lightweight, and more wearable than styles of years past. Now, therefore, I, Margot Deal, Mayor of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, do hereby support the goals of the North American Safe Boating Campaign and proclaim May 20th through 26, 2017 as National Safe Boating Week and the start of the year-round effort to promote safe boating. I urge all those who boat to wear it and practice safe boating habits. Witnessed and signed by the Mayor and City Manager.
At this time, we're on item number 5, which is the City Manager's report. Mr. Schubert?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to, on behalf of the staff, thank the Commission in whole, and especially the new commissioners. I thank you for your efforts in getting out there and meeting the staff, and thank you for your compliments of our staff. We've got a great staff. Other than that, I do have a statement that I prepared so I'd get it right. With mixed emotions, I'm giving my 2 months' notice to the Commission. While I love Lynn Haven, I've been offered an opportunity in the county I cannot turn down for the betterment of my family. I'm proud of the city's substantial accomplishments over the past 3 years and look forward to many more successes the city is poised to realize in the near future. These achievements are attributed to the hardworking staff and vision of the Commission. I'll miss you all very much, but I won't be far. So that's kind of a bombshell, but I sincerely appreciate both the staff and the Commission, and I'm very proud of this city the last 3 years. And like I said, I won't be far, and just an opportunity I couldn't pass up, and I'll still be here in the county. We'll still be working with Lynn Haven, and I look forward to going from one A team to the other, and I won't be far. So with that, thank you.
Thank you so much for that very articulate way of leaving us. We will certainly miss you. You have been here 2 years of the time that I've been mayor, and were here about a year before I arrived, and you certainly have been instrumental in turning around, in particular, the budget of the city, and I congratulate you on that and the methods that you've used. We will certainly be glad to be able to call on you, being so close by. We congratulate you on this wonderful opportunity that you have been offered, and we wish you and your family the best. And just as part of this process, I would like to also, on behalf of the Commission, issue a directive and if you would begin immediately a advertisement and search for a new city manager. And thank you for all that you've done, and I'm sure that the others might like to make a comment as well. Commissioner Russell?
Well, unfortunately, this is my first meeting, so I haven't been able to work with you very much. But I do know you as a friend, and it's a loss to the city of Lynn Haven. But good luck on your future endeavors.
Well, I have to thank Mr. Schubert because he has walked me through every process. Sometimes I hit the door surprisingly, and sometimes I call, but he's always welcomed me in, spent as much time as I needed to get educated on whatever topic we were discussing, and he's made a huge, huge impact on my position here, for sure. I know I'll miss him. I'll be calling him.
Commissioner Barnes?
Definitely, Mr. Schubert will be missed in this city. Having sit on the commission at the time when we hired him, we had to find out what was going to be the best fit for this city. And Mr. Schubert has done a fabulous job. He's come in, he's ran it professionally, and it's going to be hard to replace him. But I do understand his movement, and I wish him the best of luck. And Joel, we're here for you just as much as you're here for us. So if you need us, we're just a phone call away.
Thank you.
Commissioner Friend?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I also sat on the selection process, and I can just say that Mr. Schubert will certainly be missed. I would say to the county, you're welcome. I mean, he's done such a great job for us. One of the issues that we had during the selection process was, one of my concerns, I should say, is I knew that we would have a hard time keeping Mr. Schubert. He is a great talent in what he does. He's just going to continue to do a great job for the county. I would like to also mention, or take this opportunity to say that I think one of the greatest responsibilities that we can do in municipality government such as ours, with a charter structure that we have with a commission and city manager, is the selection of a city manager. And I'm sure we'll discuss this more, but I think the way that we did it last time was great, and I really appreciate Mr. Schubert giving us the 2-month notice, because one of the things that we did last time was we just took our time. We really took our time. We got in a lot of applicants. We went through the applicants. We took our time. We narrowed the list, and we really had a good opportunity to interview them individually. And I just, although I don't necessarily look forward to that again because we're losing such a great city manager, I think it's a great responsibility that the commission has before us, and I hope we can take our time, and I appreciate the 2 months in order to allow us to do that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Did you have an additional report?
No.
City Attorney's report?
How's that? Okay. I do have a couple of brief items. These are administrative items that the city normally considers following elections. The first is the appointments to the Bay County Transportation Planning Organization. We have one vacancy right now, and also Commissioner Friend is currently appointed. We at least need to fill the vacancy, and if you don't make any motions or any action regarding Commissioner Friend, he'll just retain his position.
Mayor, at this time, I'd like to make a motion to appoint you to the TPO in place of Commissioner Ashbrook.
I can second that. Wait a minute. I'll second that motion.
There's been a motion and a second. Thank you. Is there any discussion or questions about that from the board? Okay, thank you. At this time, then, would Mr. Schubert please call the roll?
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Tender?
Aye.
Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes, thank you very much. I will look forward to
I
serving
look
on the
forward to
TPO
working with
board.
you. It's a lot of work, but it's very rewarding.
Thank you. That will that pleases me greatly. It will give me an ear and an insight into what's happening more than I have now. So thank you very much.
The second item I have is similar. It deals with the Mayor Pro Tem position. Currently, Commissioner Barnes occupies that spot. If you don't wish to change, he'll just continue on that position. Otherwise, anyone could make a motion or some conversation, discussion about any change that you would like to consider.
Make a motion that we appoint Commissioner Rodney Friend.
I'll second that motion too.
There's been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Okay, at this time, then, City Manager, would you please call the roll? Thank you.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Tender?
Aye.
Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes. So Commissioner Friend will be our Mayor Pro Tem for the next term. Thank you. Thank you all. Is there any further part of the City Attorney's report?
No, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, at this time will be an item number 7, which is a public hearing. It is now 6:34. and the public hearing is now open. This is the large-scale comprehensive plan for future land use map amendment, ESR 17-2, the transmittal resolution number 2017-04-682.
I can read it. Ms. Richard has a presentation.
Okay. The city manager will read the resolution, and then Ms. Amanda Richard, who is our city planner, has a presentation on this item. Thank you.
A resolution of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, authorizing transmittal to appropriate agencies an amendment to the comprehensive plan amending the future land use map from Bay County Residential R1 to City of Lynn Haven Low-Density Residential on property located between County Road 389 and the Cameron's Crossing subdivision, parcel number 11573-050-000, which is approximately a total of 24.84 acres.
Thank you. This is an application for a large-scale future land use amendment. The project's name is Andrews Plantation, and the applicant is GAC Contractors, Inc. The agent is Jim Slanina from Panhandle Engineering, although I think we have Chris Forehand here tonight. Parcel number, as the city manager stated, is 11573-050-000, and the location is Highway 389. The parcel size is 24.84 acres. The existing land use is residential R1 in Bay County. And further on in the agenda, before you all vote on the transmittal for this land use change, you'll see that there's also an annexation request. But this is a public hearing, so this has to come at the beginning of the agenda. The proposed land use would be Lynn Haven Low-Density Residential. The current allowable density under Bay County for that property is 8 dwelling units per acre. So right now, the way it is in the county, a developer could develop 8 dwelling units per acre. Under the proposed allowable density, the low density residential, the allowable density would be less. It would be 5 dwelling units per acre. This shows the aerial map of the property. It's on Highway 389, and immediately to the east of the property is Cameron's Crossing. This shows the current land use in the county, which is yellow. All of that yellow is the county, and you can see the arrow which points to it. And then when it's changed, it will be the same density as the density to the west of it and the density to the east of it, which is low density residential. Because this is a large scale map amendment, because it's over 10 acres, then the procedure is that the commission votes on whether to transmit it to the state or not, because the state has control over land use. So ultimately, the city has to get their permission before the city can approve it. So this is a transmittal resolution which will send it, if you decide that you want to, onto the state. The state will review it, and if the state has no problems with it, then they get back to us within 30 days of their receipt of this, and they let us know whether you can then go ahead and decide whether you want to allow it or not by having first and second readings of the ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board concerning the presentation? Thank you. Okay, it is 6:39 and the public hearing is closed. And this item will appear as item number 7 under the consent. Excuse me, I was thinking that we would ask for public comment under item number 7, but attorney has advised me we need to do it during the public hearing. So I'm reopening the public hearing at 6:39. Are there comments from the public? And there appear to be none. Thank you. The public hearing is closed. Thank you. The consent agenda for this evening, I will read items 8 through 11. and then ask for a motion and a second, and then there will be time for discussion if anyone has a question about any of these items before a vote is taken to approve them as a consent agenda. And also, item number 11 will require a reading because it is a resolution by the city manager. So these items are item number 8, the minutes from April 25th, which was a special meeting and regular meeting. Item number 9, approval of award Phase 5 Water Systems Improvements Construction Contract to Marshall Brothers Construction and Engineering, Inc. for $411,800. Item number 10, approval of award to Gulf Coast Underground Contract for $101,750 for clay sewer pipe rehabilitation. And then item number 11 is the approval of resolution number 2017-05683, the amended land sale of real property. Mr. Schubert, if you would please read that resolution.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution 2017-05-683, a resolution of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, authorizing the sale of real property, approving the form of the sales contract, authorizing the mayor to execute the contract and closing documents, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Is there a motion for approval of the consent agenda items 8 through 11?
Move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. At this time, are there any questions or comments from the board on any of these items?
I almost want, I can't, I've got a comment. Commissioner Russell, you're going to have to, Commissioner Shad was quick to give motions. I use it at this point during the consent to joke about that, but nobody could get a motion in faster than he could. So you're going to have to
Step it up.
just
Daniel.
kidding.
Step it up.
Just kidding, yeah.
All right. Any questions from the board or comments?
I do have a question.
Okay.
On item number 10, where the clay sewer pipe
The rehabilitation.
rehabilitation, is that any part of the streets and the infrastructure that we got the money on, or is this something separate?
This is coordinated with that plan, but I do not believe, well, this will be done beforehand anyway, but any infrastructure we do will be in coordination with the 20 miles of streets we're talking about rehabbing.
Thank you.
Any further questions from the board or comments? Any questions or comments from the public on items 8 through 11? There appear to be none, so Mr. Schubert, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Tender?
Aye.
Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes. So the consent agenda stands approved. Item number 12 is old business, and this will be requiring action. This is the second reading of Ordinance 1029, the right-of-way abandonment, TFCU Corporate Park and Driveway, the Tyndall Federal Credit Union, sorry. And it will require action. So the second reading of the ordinance, please, Mr. Schubert.
An ordinance of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, providing for the vacation and abandonment of a portion of a certain 20-foot platted right-of-way as shown on the St. Andrews Bay Development Company's plat of Section 21, Township 3 South, Range 14 West, Bay County, Florida, which lies within the city limits, repealing all ordinances in conflict and providing for an immediately effective date.
Thank you. Is there a motion for acceptance?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Are there any questions or discussion regarding this right-of-way abandonment? Any comments or questions from the public? There appear to be none. Mr. Schubert, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Tender?
Aye.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes, and so it stands approved. Moving on to new business, item number 13 is discussion and possible action regarding approval of resolution number 2017-05684. This is the mid-year amended budget. Mr. Schubert, did you have any comments you want to make before I ask for a motion in a second?
This is just the second time the commission formally approves the budget. We're not actually required to do a mid-year amended budget, but this just gives you a snapshot of where we are. Typically, we do this in April. I pushed it back a little bit so our new commissioners could have a look at it as well. But it just gives you, again, a snapshot of comparison of what we had budgeted, where we started back in October, and where we are now, and a projection of where we'll wind up.
Is there a motion for acceptance of the mid-year budget?
Move approval.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Do we need to read that resolution? We do, don't we, Mr. Attorney?
By title, please.
Thank you. I think I'd already done that, right?
Okay.
Resolution number 2017-05684, the mid-year amended budget.
Right.
Okay. Any discussion or questions about the budget from the board? Any questions or discussion from the public? There appear to be none, so Mr. Schubert, if you would please call the roll for approval.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Tender?
Aye.
Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes, so we stand approved with that budget. Item number 14 is discussion and possible action regarding approval of development order and certificate of concurrency for Patel Psychiatric Office. This is a quasi-judicial hearing, and I suppose will require you to swear in various members.
Yes, I'll make a few comments. First, anyone in the room who expects to make any comments regarding this item, and it's about a development order and certificate of concurrency for Patel Psychiatric Office, please stand and raise your right hand to be sworn in. Do you swear to tell the whole truth under penalty of perjury? If you do, say I do. All right, and so since this is a quasi-judicial hearing, you'll be making a decision based on the information and testimony provided to you tonight. It will require competent substantial evidence on the record, and we'll go through the Jennings disclosures right now. What that has to do with, especially for anyone who's new to the board, the decision tonight is supposed to be based on what you hear and read tonight. So if you've had any communications prior to the meeting tonight about this matter, we ask that you disclose them for the record and give a brief explanation of what they were. And if we could, please, let's just go down the row, starting with Commissioner Friend.
I've had none.
I've had none.
I've had none.
I've had none.
And I've had none.
All right, you may proceed, Mrs. Mayor.
The project is Patel Psychiatric Office. The applicant is Rajni Patel, MD, PA. The agent was Benny Moore from Moore Brothers Construction. He was the agent who submitted the site plans. The parcel number is 11195-000-000. The location is 4836 Highway 389. The land use is mixed use. The property is 4.293 acres in size, and the development order application is to be allowed to construct stormwater pond, driveways and parking stalls to bring the property up to city code. This is the property here in the red. It's across from the city cemetery. It had a single-family home on it when it was annexed into the city and given a mixed-use land use. Following that, it was sold to Dr. Patel, who hired Benny Moore from Moore Brothers Construction to submit the development order application for everything that needed to be done in converting the property from a single-family home to a business. Now, he's a doctor, but he's not. He doesn't have a lot of patients because it's a psychiatric office. What happened was the first round of site plans were submitted. The city gave their comments on that first round, but then construction went ahead without the development order being approved, so a stop work order was put on, and it has taken some time to get it to this point. But now finally, we actually do have a proper development order submittal. Staff and engineers, the city contracted engineers, have reviewed the site plans so that the building can legally operate with all the required parking, stormwater facilities, etc. Mr. Benny Moore is not here tonight. Mrs. Patel is here. The long-suffering Mrs. Patel is here. So if you have any questions, I'm sure she'd be happy to ask them, so long as they're not like engineering specific or anything.
Thank you so much. Any questions or comments from the board regarding this? Is there a motion for approval?
Move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. There's been a motion for approval and a second. No questions from the board? Any questions from the public? At this time, if Mr. Schubert would please call the roll.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Tender?
Aye.
Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes, and so the development order is approved. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 15 is discussion and possible action regarding approval of development order and certificate of concurrency, Tillman Investment LLC. Again, it's a quasi-judicial hearing, so we'll go through this same process again.
If anyone in the audience expects to provide comment or questions on this matter, please stand and raise your right hand. I swear that any testimony you provide tonight will be the whole truth under penalty of perjury.
I do.
And we will briefly do Jennings disclosures like on the last item. So if you've had any communications about this matter before tonight, please disclose them for the record, beginning with Commissioner Friend.
I've had none.
I've had none.
I've had none.
I've had none.
And I've had none.
This is also a development order application. The project this time is Tillman Investment Office. The applicant is Ms. Jean F. Tillman. The agent is James Slanina, PE, Panhandle Engineering. However, as I mentioned earlier, Chris Forehand is here tonight if you have any engineering questions. The parcel number is 10457-000-000, and the land use is mixed use. Oops. The location is 1610 Tennessee Avenue, and the approximate size of the parcel is 0.86 acres. The applicant actually received a development order for 3 buildings and supporting infrastructure a number of years ago, but at that time only one of the buildings was constructed. The owner now wants to reduce the footprint on the remaining 2 buildings and reconfigure the stormwater pond. So they're actually reducing the size of the buildings, and the reason that the owner would like to now construct those buildings is because their existing investment office is going to be taken by the widening of Highway 390. So they need to relocate. So basically, really what this is a development order amendment, because it's an amendment to the original development order, but that has now expired. This is the location, the aerial map of the proposed DO. This is the old site plan that was originally approved. The building at the top is existing, and the 2 buildings on the south there were not constructed. However, the parking and the stormwater was constructed. Under the new site plan, that existing building is remaining, but they will be given permission, if you approve this, to be able to go ahead and construct the 2 remaining buildings. I think they're actually only going to do one of them right now. And they've reconfigured the stormwater ponds to suit the new buildings, and they'll also be putting in some new landscaping along Highway 90 to improve the look of the property.
Thank you. Is there a motion for approval?
I make motion.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Are there any questions or comments regarding this possible action? Any questions or comments from the public? There appear to be none. Mr. Schubert, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Tender?
Aye.
Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes, and so item 15 stands approved. Moving on to item 16 is the first reading of Ordinance 1030. This is a request for annexation of Andrews Plantation, and there will be no action necessary. This is only a first reading of the ordinance.
Ordinance number 1030, an ordinance annexing into the municipal limits of the city of Lynn Haven, Florida, pursuant to Florida Statute Section 171.044, certain contiguous, compact, and unincorporated land, parcel number 11573-050-000, located between County Road 389 and the Cameron's Crossing subdivision, consisting of approximately 24.84 acres of property as more particularly described herein, amending the boundaries of the city to include said land, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. That completes the first reading of the ordinance. We have no action necessary this evening, but if anyone has questions on the board, we can certainly, everybody's good. Any questions from the public? Okay. Moving on to item 17. Again, this will be a public hearing, and action is necessary. Discussion and possible action regarding approval of large-scale comprehensive plan, the future land use map amendment ESR 17-2 transmittal resolution number 2017-04-682.
Just to clarify, this is the follow-up from the hearing we had at the beginning of the meeting, so this is the opportunity for the commission to discuss and make a decision.
Thank you. Any comments from the commission or questions about the public hearing that we previously had at the beginning? None. Any from the public? Okay, at this time, is there a motion for approval?
I'll move approval.
There's been a motion for approval. Is there a second?
Second.
There's been a motion for approval as well as a second. Any further discussion? Mr. Schubert, if you'll please call the roll.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Tender?
Aye.
Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes, so it stands approved. I appear to have sort of put everybody into a catatonic state up here. Let's look lively, boys and girls, and move right on through. This is such an exciting meeting.
It is, isn't it?
Okay, item number 18 is the first reading of ordinance 1031, discussion and possible action regarding large-scale comprehensive plan future land use map amendment, ESR 17-1, the fuel depot. There's no action necessary. This is a first reading, and thank you guys for being here this evening.
We did not.
I was moving a little
Here we
quickly
go.
here,
I've
trying
got
to speed this up
I
a little.
apologize. Ordinance number 1031, an ordinance of the City Commission for the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, amending the adopted comprehensive plan, providing for purpose and intent, providing for a title, amending the future land use map from 1, research park to mixed use and commercial, and 2, public institutional and low-density residential to mixed use for parcels of land located at the former site of the United States Air Force Lynn Haven Field Depot, north of the State Highway 390, which is approximately 110 acres within the city as more accurately described in Exhibit B, providing for severability, providing for a copy on file, and providing for an effective date.
Give me just one moment. I'm conferring with the attorney. This will have no action necessary this evening. I was a little confused because it had possible action as well. The attorney's telling me no action necessary this evening. So are there questions? Any questions from the public? Thank you. Then we'll move right along to item number 19, which is the first reading of ordinance 1032, Small Scale Comprehensive Plan Future Land Use Map Amendment, SSA 17-1, and there will be no action necessary on this first reading as well. Mr. Schubert, are you ready?
Yes. Ordinance number 1032, an ordinance providing for the adoption pursuant to Chapter 163 Florida statutes of a land use change from commercial to mixed use for an approximate 4.879 acres of property located at 3755 Highway 389 in the city of Lynn Haven, Bay County, Florida, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith and providing an effective date.
Thank you. That's a first reading. There's no action necessary. Are there questions from the board? Discussion? Any questions from the public or discussion? There appear to be none. So moving on to item number 20, which is the first reading of ordinance 1033. This is the amendment to the City of Lynn Haven ULDC floodplain management regulations. Again, no action necessary. This is the first reading of an ordinance.
Ordinance number 1033, an ordinance of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, amending sections 1.07.00, 3.01.00, and 10.01.00 of the city's Unified Land Development Code to update the city's flood management regulations, providing and amending specific procedures and criteria for development in flood hazard areas, repealing all ordinances in conflict, providing for codification, and providing an immediately effective date.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from the board? Any comments or questions from the public? There appear to be none. So we'll move on to item number 21, which is the first reading of Ordinance 1034, City of Lynn Haven Code of Ordinances relating to the sale of alcoholic beverages.
Ordinance number 1034, an ordinance of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, amending Chapter 6 of the Lynn Haven Code of Ordinances regarding alcoholic beverages, modifying the minimum distance restrictions on the sale of alcoholic beverages from certain locations in the city, providing for repeal of ordinances in conflict, providing for codification, and providing for an immediately effective date.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board or comments from the board? There appear to be none. Are there any questions or comments from the public? Yes, ma'am. State your name and address, please.
Arlene Harrison, 904 Michigan Avenue. We're amending the distance, to what?
Would you want to respond, Mr. Schubert?
Our current ordinance is more restrictive than what the state requirements are as far as the sale of alcoholic beverages. Our current ordinance has a restriction of 1,000 feet between any establishment selling alcohol and a church or a school. The state statute reads 500 feet only from a school. So this would bring us, it would align us with what the state statute is.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? And this also is a first reading and requires no action this evening. Then moving to item number 22 is discussion and possible action regarding half-cent sales tax financing and procurement. Would that be your discussion, Mr. Schubert?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. At a commission meeting and subsequent workshop, the commission charged me with soliciting bids from local banks for financing the half-cent revenue stream. We've had 2 months come in so far, and it's pretty much on target. We haven't had a full year of this, but just as a reminder, our main project, our only project, is approximately 20 miles of Lynn Haven's worst roads in the city to repave those in some adjacent infrastructure, as we've been talking about for several months. So to leverage that income stream, we want to do more upfront, get it done quickly, inconvenience the citizens the least amount. So they charged me with going out there and finding financing. We advertised what we were looking for. We're looking for a loan that would not exceed the 10-year duration of what's been approved for this sales tax. Obviously looking for the best rates. We did not want any pre-penalty in case we do have more revenue that comes in and we want to pay this off early. I certainly asked for closing cost and also for a bank qualified note so we could obviously get a better rate and not a non-bank qualified note. As an aside, because we had refunded approximate $6.1 million bond in January of this year, the city has a limitation of $10 million that we can borrow as a bank qualified loan. So I did not want to jeopardize the financing of the refunding of that bond, so the limit I looked for was $3.9 million. Now, come January of 2018, we can go back, so let's re-advertise, and we can get up to $10 million for the same project for next year. So originally, the commission was talking about somewhere between $8 and $12 million. This $3.9 million will certainly carry us through to January of 18. And what I'm looking for tonight is consent from the commission to move forward with the most favorable rate, which I received from Hancock Bank, which was 2.18. It is a bank qualified. It would be a bank qualified note. It's for 10 years, actually a little bit short of 10 years because we're already into May of this year. An amount of approximately $3.91 million, which would complement the approximate 6.1 that we already refunded this year. Closing costs not to exceed $4,500, no pre-penalty, and that's what I would look for and ask for consent from the commission to go ahead and finalize this paperwork and bring it back, hopefully for the next commission meeting to start moving forward with our project.
Thank you. Is there a motion for acceptance of the proposal from from City Manager Mr. Schubert?
So move.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Are there any questions or comments from the board regarding his proposal?
Joel, can you repeat the interest rate on that again?
2.18.
Okay.
And I received a term sheet, and I advertise the exact same conditions on all 4 term sheets. That could vary slightly, but I do not think it will vary substantially.
And it's possibly less than the 10 years that you was looking for.
Well, I mentioned something less than 10 years. You're right. It'll be, I do not want this loan to exceed
10 years.
2027, January 1 of 2027, because that's when the tax is up for renewal.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
Mayor, I'd just add that, good job. I think that's a great rate, and I think it's in line with what we've discussed in the past. I think the whole key to managing this half-cent sales tax is not over-debting, not going into more debt than allowed as we manage the revenue stream that's coming in. So I like the approach that we're taking on this. Thank you.
I like it as well, and I like the fact that you'll be able to mobilize and get everything moving at once, and we know that it saves money to have all the equipment mobilized and moving and paving and getting it done as quickly as possible so that people can see the results of the half-cent sales tax and where it's going. So I really like that. Any questions or comments? Any comments or questions from the public? Okay, at this time, would you please call the roll, Mr. Schubert?
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Tender?
Aye.
Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes, so it stands approved. Thank you. Item number 23, we added after the workshop regarding the expansion of golf carts last evening to all streets in Lynn Haven with a speed limit of 25 miles per hour or less, just making that change to the standing ordinance, which is in line and compatible with Florida's statute. We wanted to have a first reading. There'll be no action taken tonight. This ordinance also can be added to or tweaked. One of the comments last night, there seemed to be a movement in the workshop that we would move towards this expansion, but some participants did express reservation about allowing all streets to be included in this ordinance. And so even though this is a first reading, there is still time even tonight if there are comments to be made, as well as at the next commission meeting when we'll have the second reading, that these streets could be added or it could be left to stand as it is if it were to be approved. So that could go either way. So any questions or comments from the board before the ordinance is read? Mr. Schubert, would you please read the ordinance?
Ordinance number 1035, an ordinance of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, amending Chapter 66 of the Lynn Haven Code of Ordinances related to traffic and motor vehicles, designating additional city streets with a posted speed limit of 25 miles per hour or lower for golf cart use, amending Appendix D of the code entitled Golf Cart Areas, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing for an immediate effective date.
Thank you. The board expressed no comment or questions. Are there any comments or questions about this expansion of the ordinance from the public? And there appear to be none, and so the first reading requires no action this evening. Item number 24 is public commentary. At this time, we would like to offer, if anyone in the audience has anything that you'd like to discuss this evening, about anything in the City of Lynn Haven, you're welcome to approach the podium. Yes, sir, in the back.
William Carr, 1500 Massachusetts. You brought up the part about maybe adding more stop signs to streets around the city and all. I would just ask that the commission take into consideration that first responders also use those streets, and it may not be a problem for the patrol cars, but when you have an ambulance and a fire truck that has to slow down or come to a stop and then get back up to speed, you're talking about minutes, and in those instances, seconds count and not minutes. So if a vehicle takes the shortest route to the destination, and where there was no stop signs before, and now you've got 3, then you've delayed that response time. And I just ask that the commission take that into consideration when you start to put in stop signs.
Thank you. Are there any other comments from the public this evening? Sure, come on up. If it's easier for you to speak from where you are, you're welcome to do that. I can bring the microphone to you. Okay.
My question is this. I'm Jim Glenn. I live over on Florida Avenue. My question is this. If they're going to allow golf carts into communities, Are they going to have insurance and license and driver's license?
Your question, first of all, the golf carts are already allowed in Lynn Haven. They have been for many years. We're asking to expand it to all the neighborhoods. According to Florida statute, a golf cart is considered as a motorcycle. I'm trying to find the word.
They're a
but
motorized vehicle, so they should be.
You do not
they should
have
be required
okay,
to
you
have a
asked
license and insurance. That's the only thing I'm asking.
A motorcycle does not have to have insurance by law, and neither does a golf cart under the Florida statute. However, if a motorcycle or a golf cart is the offending person, in other words, they cause the accident, then they are liable, certainly. And
the reason I brought this up was there's one set of golf carts in our road. Most of them are no problem, but there's one set in our neighborhood. It's a four-seater golf cart, and it's always some kids riding it. And I don't think there's one of them above about 12 or 13 years old. Well, twice they've turned around in my driveway. And another time, I live right on the corner, and another time they took and turned around right in the middle of the corner, and there was a car almost hit him. He had to pull off to the side to keep from hitting him, because they weren't even looking. They just turned around and went on back.
And they're doing that whether the ordinance is in place or not. So it's
we need to have some control of them if we're going to have that.
Sure. We need to cite the parents is what we need to do. I appreciate your comments, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on any issue this evening? Thank you so much. If not, then this meeting stands adjourned. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Come on up.
Arlene Harrison, 904 Michigan Avenue. I am very active at Roberts Hall, as I think most everyone knows. And it is true that in the past, the relationship between the city and Roberts Hall was strained. As far as I'm concerned, that is past history. We at Roberts Hall have actively supported and cooperated with any event on Florida Avenue and many of the other public and private events the city has promoted, both before and after that difficult time. So, while Tracy was called out of town, I'm discussing the Jazz Fest. So while Tracy was called out of town for a death in her family, and I was holding vigil at my mother's bedside while she was dying, the city chose to disrespect Roberts Hall by moving the entire Jazz Fest away from our corner. And I was offended by that move. And I would like to know who made that decision to change Tracy Jones' site plan for the Jazz Fest. I saw it. Tracy met with Don Schofer and myself to make sure we were all on the same page for this event. The hall lost money. We did not book any other events for that date. In talking to Tracy, she wanted to make sure that we didn't have a wedding plan that weekend or something. But we did make active plans to make Roberts Hall an active participant in this event. Among other things, we had vendors that lost money. Those vendors have refused to return to Roberts Hall because the city is unreliable. Now, I would like to know who made that decision.
Excuse me. I would respond to your question with, I saw the exact same site map that you did, and that was the map that I understood would be there, and I too was surprised, and I expressed my surprise as well as some of the same thoughts that you did to the city manager. We've had the discussion, so I'll leave it there.
I missed that.
I don't know who made the change.
Does anyone know who?
Well, if I could. Yeah. Well, what I had heard is As far as where the band was playing and all that, I appreciate the comments you made at the start. I think we have had a great relationship, at least the last 3 years.
Yes.
And I'd ask that you'd allow me to get with the Leisure Services Director and find out if,
Perhaps the Leisure Services Director could let us know. I would like to hear that.
With all due respect, I think it would be better if the city manager spoke with employees not in a public venue, and then he could come back to you if that would be acceptable to you. I don't want him to pull an employee up in front of a public.
I would like to know what the reasoning was.
And I agree that I would like to know as well. I'm on the same page with you. I was disappointed in how that was handled.
This was obviously discussed with somebody.
And I would ask that the city manager get in touch with you right away and let you know what happened. And I hope that will happen. If it doesn't, I would ask that you, I know that he will. He will get in touch with you.
Thank you, Joel.
Thank you. And I don't mean to disrespect you in any way, Ms. Harris. I just don't think that I don't think that a city employee should be called in front of the public to discuss what may or may not have happened. And it's just not a public issue. Thank you so much for coming and expressing. Is there anyone else who has a comment this evening? Okay, thank you so much for attending the meeting.